What up, everybody? Another episode of Wakanda Whiskey and Blerd-dom. We shortened the name. We're no longer Wakanda Whiskey, Blerd-dom, and Bourbon because Marc pointed out that bourbon is whiskey and it was redundant and a mouthful.
Yep.
So we are now Wakanda Whiskey and Blerd-dom.
Perfect.
With me, I am Paul, and with me is my partner, Marc.
Drinking whiskey.
I, unfortunately, am not drinking whiskey tonight.
You on those antibiotics again?
Not this time.
No.
I'm just drinking rum instead.
That's not bad. That's not bad. So what's going on?
Specifically, Jamaican overproof Rare Nephew White rum.
Appleton?
Good stuff there.
What is it, Appleton? Or another brand?
No. Rare Nephew.
Never heard of that one.
It's for a grown man. You don't know about that. Anyway, so this week we're going to talk about our reads of the week. There's 3 books we're going to talk about. First one being Captain America: Symbol of Truth. Next being Blood Syndicate, number 5. And Minor Threats, which has 2 issues out by Patton Oswalt, the Uber Nerd Extraordinaire.
Yeah. Why don't you start with that one? Because I don't have that one. I've never heard of it. So start with that one.
All right. We will start with that one. Let me, where's my little thingamajig? There we go. So here's the book. Minor Threats. You said you haven't heard of this book?
Never in life. Is that Marvel or what company is that?
This is Dark Horse, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, Dark
That
Horse.
banner, the thing up top on the left reminds me of how they used to do Marvel back in the day. Yes.
So, look, this is a dope book. If you're not familiar with Patton Oswalt, he's an actor, writer, Uber Nerd Extraordinary, does voiceovers. Most recently, you might recognize him in the comic book world as playing one of the LMDs on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He also played the voice of MODOK on the short-lived Hulu television show MODOK. He is the writer of this book. Now, why this book? This book is about an alternative world where you obviously have metas. Some are superheroes, some are supervillains. This book kind of reminds me a lot of Wanted by Marc Millar. Did you ever read Wanted? I know you probably saw the movie.
No, I love the movie. I've seen the movie several times, but I
so
never
the movie Wanted
was
was done by writer Marc Millar. It's a dope comic book if you've never read it, graphic novel, in which the world is viewed from the lens of the villain's perspective. In Wanted, the superheroes are ultimately defeated and overtaken by the villains, and the villains end up running the world. So what happens when the villains start running the world, basically? And they have to deal with, running a government and keeping society in check. It's interesting. So this is not that. Minor Threats, the superheroes are still running the world, but they're kind of jerks. They're very authoritarian. In their world, metas exist, and they're kind of treated like trash. In many respects, it's kind of like the X-Men, where people with superpowers are kind of frowned upon. It's hard to get people to allow you to rent a room or a house because they're afraid your meta power is going to go crazy and trash the place. It's hard sometimes. Some people won't give you a job. It's tough on meta, so a lot of them end up turning to crime. In this particular story, you have this African-American woman who's right there in the center there. Her name is her superhero name is Playmate. When she was a child, she was a sidekick to her mother, who I think went by the name Game Time or something like that. Her mother was a thief, and her mother recognized when she was 2 years old that she had this meta ability to create out of nothing, kind of like Forge, where she can, of the X-Men, where she can take various objects and just have an innate ability to take random objects, put them together and make complex machines. But with a twist. The machines that she feels comfortable making naturally, subconsciously, are all toys. Hence her name, Playtime.
Are
If you
all
see her
what?
in the picture,
They're all what? They're all
Toys,
what?
toys.
Toys. Okay.
If you see there in the picture, you see the little teddy bear with the arms coming out and the Rubik's Cube on her hip. Because although they look like cute, cuddly toys, they're actually deadly weapons that she makes. And long story short, she wants to reform her life. She went to prison, went to jail. She's tired of it. She has a daughter who doesn't want to see her because every time mommy shows up, stuff goes boom and cops show up and doesn't want to be involved with that. She wants to reform her life. She's working as a bartender. The superheroes go crazy because a random villain ended up killing somebody. And so they're trying to find this villain, and they're basically, making life difficult for all the metas. The superheroes are just rousting up everybody, questioning everybody, and it's making everyone miserable. No one can get any work done. So these D-list super villains say, look, we know these superheroes are jerks, but they're not going to make our lives any easier until they find this villain. So I'll tell you what, why don't we all get together and let's get this guy. Let's just kill this guy and get him out the way so that the superheroes will leave us alone.
So basically the Thunderbolts kind of.
I mean, they're kind of being, they're anti-heroes, definitely, in that they're not heroic. They're not doing it for some altruistic reason other than the cops are messing with us and we need to just kill this villain to get them out the way and get them out of our hair so we can go back to making money. So dope book.
Reform villains doing something good. So that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dope story. Very well written. Artwork's on point. It's exactly what you see on the screen there. That's a team that she gathers. Well paced. Highly recommend this book. Minor Threats.
Is it going to be a mini series or is it an ongoing?
I don't know the answer to that. It's on its second issue. So
what made you get that?
Well, I have a rule that if I see a black character of prominence on the cover, I always try to give him a shot on the first issue.
Gotcha.
And from there, I read it and realized it was Patton Oswalt, and it was actually pretty good, and just kept reading it.
It's interesting. We know Patton Oswalt as an actor, comedian, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our biggest complaints was people who are not normal comic book writers coming into this world and messing things up, so to speak, looking at you, Ta-Nehisi Coates. But if, Patton isn't known for his comic book work, but apparently he's doing a good job. So that's a positive. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I may have to check it out. Like I said, I've never even heard of that book before. Oh, and speaking of other actors, this book isn't one that we're going to discuss now, but Keanu Reeves, who we all know, who's been popular and famous for 40 years at this point, he writes a book called Berserk, who the character in question is basically like a Vandal Savage / Wolverine character. And even though Keanu's name is attached, how much of the writing do you think is his versus the other person who's associated with that book?
You have no idea. I mean, there's no way to tell.
Yeah. I mean, I like the premise. I like the book. Again, we're not really talking about it, but this got me on the roll, thinking about actors moving on in the comic book world. Berserk is pretty good. What's my girl's name who plays Ahsoka Tano in live action?
Oh, wow. Rosario Dawson.
I've met her in person. She is as lovely in person, physically, as she is on the screen. She smells like sunshine and cinnamon. She actually wrote a comic book back in the day with a dude who I used to work with by the name of David Atchison. And they had a book back in the day. Another actress who had a comic book is Erica Alexander, a.k.a. from Living Single. She played
Maxine Shaw.
From Living Single. She had a book. I haven't read it. I haven't heard anything about it. but she's got one. So it's interesting.
It was called Concrete Jungle or something like that.
I honestly don't remember, but I just think it's interesting how all of these people from outside of the comic book world have delved into it, dipped their toes in to our nerd world. I just think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, when Paul and I were kids, you know, comic books were not popular the way that they are now. You know, you barely had any comic book related movies. We had the Hulk, we had Wonder Woman. Back before either of us were born, there was the Batman cartoon. You had Shazam and Isis on Saturdays in the 70s, and that's pretty much it. You know, there were a couple of Captain America movies, television movies in the 80s, but you know, that was pretty much it. But now, you know, we're living in a renaissance of comic book in the comic book world, and I think it's just pretty interesting, and I like it. You folks don't know how lucky you are if you're under the age.
Especially you young people that grew up with the MCU have no idea how much you should appreciate what you have going on right now.
Right. Not only on the big screen, but on the small screen. You know, over the past 5-6 years, there have been at least 3 to 7 comic book related superhero type shows on TV, in addition to what you find on the big screen. In addition to that, nerd paraphernalia, it's ubiquitous. You know, I go into a mall and there'll be 6 or 7 separate stores that will have anime or comic book related nerd type merch that you can buy. When we were kids, back in the old days, before, you know, when there were only 3 channels on TV, you didn't have that. You know, maybe you could order something on, I almost said online. There was no online. I mean, you know, I don't know how we got stuff back in the day, because there wasn't much, and I don't remember where we would have gotten it from. You know, there were no online retailers.
And that's another thing is when you and I were coming up, you know, if we wanted comics, we either had to go to our local bodega or the 7-Eleven or find an LCS
store or a pharmacy.
Right, like that. Those are your choices. There's no, or otherwise you can get a subscription to the. That's what I did. I got subscriptions to Marvel Comics, and they'd send your comics not in a poly bag. This is back in the day. They'd wrap it with a brown paper bag. You can imagine the comics condition when it got to your house, when it came in the regular mail with no backing board, just a brown paper bag. And if it rained, that's what happened to your comics.
Yeah.
So a lot of my early comics that I received in that fashion are not in the best of condition.
Right. I think, if memory serves, the comics that I got were purchased like at a local grocery store, or like a Eckerd's used to be in existence, and they would have the literal spinning rack. And you know, you go to a comic book store now, and you have walls of new comics, and the new comics, you know, each issue will probably have between 10 and 15 copies. Back then, in the stores, the grocery stores and stuff, they may have 5 of each. You know, I mean, it's, if you are into this type of stuff, if you're into this type of culture, we are living in the best days for this as of right now. So, you know, just be thankful that you didn't come up in the ancient days like me and Paul did, because, you know, it was something. And what's crazy is I follow a lot of people on Twitter who are comic book related accounts. And you'll see somebody who grabs something like, yeah, you know, here's my new pickup for $5. And it's something that when it initially came out was 60, 75 cents. And I just chuckled to myself. I'm like, yeah, I bought that when it first came out, you know? So yeah, this has been a lifelong passion for both of us. And for those of you who are into it now, you know, just be thankful that you have a way to get your stuff more easily and readily than we did back when we were coming up. So, yeah.
So let's bring up the next book. Which one do you want to do next? Blood Syndicate or Captain?
Yeah.
All right.
Blood Syndicate, written by the great Jeffrey Thorne. Shout out to Jeffrey Thorne. who, quite frankly, should be the main writer on the Black Panther title. In Blood Syndicate, there's this dude by the name of Holocaust, and he's just taking over. He's basically the Nino Brown of comic books. And the reason why I say that is because he has a cadre of empowered bang babies, as they call them in the Blood Syndicate, who have taken over this particular area. And there's a group of individuals who are fighting against him. Now, Icon and Rocket are probably two of the most there are three really popular characters from the Milestone universe: Static, Icon, Rocket. Icon and Rocket specifically because of Young Justice.
Static. Well, there's more than that. There's also Hardware and the Blood Syndicate.
No.
Those were the
I understand
four.
that they exist, but I'm talking about for people who aren't into necessarily the comic books or who haven't picked up the comic books. Chances are they saw the Fox Kids TV show Static, or Static Shock, I think it was called. Or they saw Young Justice and saw Icon and Rocket in Young Justice in Justice League Unlimited. But there are other characters, obviously, in this universe. Blood Syndicate is about a group of individuals who are bang babies, folks who have powers. And the dude who's on the cover, he's basically like Johnny Storm, Firestar, Magma, Roberto da Costa, all rolled up into one. This dude's powers obviously
mixed in with the attitude of Killmonger.
Right. All of this rolled into one, and he's kind of a badass, and he's a thug. There's no other way to say it. He is a thug, and I guess he used to be a drug dealer, perhaps drugs, guns, anything illegal. And once he got powers, he decided, okay, I'm gonna use my powers to the benefit of myself and my group. And they've taken over this area of their city, and Icon and Rocket have come in to try to stop him. Maybe they're successful, maybe they're not. But it's a pretty interesting story. I like Jeffrey Thorne's writing, let me say that. But this book seems somewhat convoluted. The story seems somewhat convoluted. And there are times when I admittedly get lost in the storytelling. Like, okay, well, who is this person? Where did this come from? I don't know. I'm not going to say it's all over the place, because it's not. I'm enjoying it. But I think it's not as clean and linear as I would like, I would say.
Well, there was a flashback sequence where you get to learn. This is also where you get to learn a lot of Holocaust's origin, some of his childhood. And there's some back and forth between his childhood to his early days of forming his meta gang group to the present, in which he is attacking and slaughtering people in Paris Island in his bid to take over Paris Island.
Wait, at the beginning, is that him as a boy?
Yes.
With the dog?
Yes.
Oh.
And that's his father.
Yeah.
Haitian.
Yeah. Okay. See, I was lost on that. I wasn't really grasping that. Okay. That makes sense now. That makes sense.
Yeah. It was 20 years in the past.
Yeah. Now, I love the art. Who's the artist on this?
This is Chris Cross. My man, Chris Cross, one of the original Milestone artists, is back on this book, and his artwork is fire. You know what's also impressive is the coloring. The coloring just literally jumps off the page.
Yeah. Hold on, wait, Chris Cross, because in the back it says Sean. In the back it says Sean Damian Hill.
Yeah, it should be Chris Cross.
No, Sean Damian Hill on the back of this. It illustrated this issue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he did all right. He did the rest of the issues. Well, regardless, artwork's fire.
Yeah. Yes. I like the way he drew Icon. I don't know if you can pull up that page. Let me see. About page 13 or 14. I don't know if you can pull that up. But Icon kind of looks how T'Challa has been drawn at some point. I really like how Sean did Icon. Holocaust looks like a badass. He looks like a dread-headed Rastafarian. He reminds me of some of the characters who were in Steven Seagal's movie Above the Law. I think that was the one where he fought the Jamaicans or whatever. Yeah, this was The artwork was good. The artwork was very, very good. I'm enjoying this book. As you know, when Milestone relaunched, they relaunched several different titles: Hardware, Blood Syndicate, Static, Icon, and Rocket. That's four. Am I missing? Am I missing another one?
Hardware, Blood Syndicate, Icon and Rocket,
Yep. Static.
and Static. Yes, that's
So
all.
it was just those four.
Yes,
Right.
those are the 4 original books of Milestone Comics.
Right. I really just, I've never liked Hardware. I just didn't dig it. Blood Syndicate, I did not read the original. I am liking this one because again, I'm a
Your life is literally incomplete without reading those original 4.
Listen,
Milestone books.
I don't disagree, and that's my fault. Back then, hindsight is always 2020, and there are times when you don't realize when you're living through history. And at the time when Milestone dropped, I did not recognize or understand that I was living through history. So I didn't collect any of the original books. I have some of my collection, but I didn't start at issue 1 through whatever through the complete run. Now as a collector, I'm trying to go back and piecemeal get the whole run. But I missed out on that. In Blood Syndicate, I'm enjoying this, and I'm glad I got in on it, from the very beginning, because again, I didn't want to get left out in the cold once again. But it's a good book. Jeffrey Thorne is a magnificent writer. Reginald Hudlin, who, in my opinion, did the best run of Black Panther, wrote Icon and Rocket.
I love that run so much.
Yeah, it was really good. Wait,
I absolutely love that run.
did he do Icon and Rocket and Static, or
No, he just did Icon and Rocket. He
Who did Static?
he was the co-writer with Leon Chills.
right? Who did Static?
That was Vita Ayala.
Okay. Well, if you are a comic book collector, I would encourage you to support the Dakota Milestone universe. Hardware, I didn't mean that. I did not mean that. Blood Syndicate is pretty good. It's worth the purchase. It's worth the read. Icon and Rocket is really good.
Excellent.
Static shows up in Icon and Rocket. Again, you may be familiar with those characters from Young Justice and Justice League Unlimited. So I and Static. Those are the 3 that I really like. Hardware, I just can't get into.
And if you don't like this current run, as Jeffrey Thorne has said, read the original books. They hold up to this day. There's a Milestone Compendium, Volume 1 that's already come out, which has the first several issues of those 4 books. There's a Volume 2 for Milestone coming out, the Compendium, which is a big omnibus of Milestone books. If you're a Black collector and you don't have these floppies, the original copies, I will literally tell you, you've got to have the Milestone Compendium in your collection. You just have to. You have to have it. You have to read it. You have to understand the significance of the Milestone universe.
What was the one that starts with X? Like Exhibit, not Exhibit, but there was a Milestone book that started with the letter X.
Zombie.
Zombie. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not a fan. I don't know if it was I wasn't a huge fan of the art back then and or the coloring. It just, in the Milestone universe, it was just.
I love the coloring in the Milestone universe. They used a watercolored based style, which was very unique at the time. And what makes that style significant is it was literally the first time, by using watercolors, that you were able to see the differences in skin tones in people of color. No comic before that ever had that. So you had a myriad of Black people, people of color, Black and brown people, and various shades and skin tones that you previously never saw. All Black people were just sort of brown, just brown number 5. And Milestone was the first one, because they used that watercoloring system, to be able to show the differences and the beauty of the skin tones. It's highly significant.
That's cool.
They do it all digitally now, but back then you had to do that by hand, and you had to use watercolors to get that effect.
Yeah, I know that some of the artists back then are, considered prominent, especially at this point, but I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it back
Well,
then.
you're missing out, brother, because
Well, I mean, like I said, I've picked up some of those old books recently, and looking at it, it just doesn't do it for me. Um, I'm not speaking about the stories at all, just the aesthetic of it. But this I'm enjoying. I enjoyed the hell out of Icon and Rocket. Static I really enjoyed, and I am enjoying Blood Syndicate, even though this particular issue kind of confused me a little bit. But what you said makes sense. So if you are a collector, Blood Syndicate should be on your pull list. The
so
third
next up we have Captain America: Symbol of Truth, number 5.
right now there are two.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Right now, there are two Captain America titles. Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, I believe, with the original Marvel Captain America, who is Steve Rogers. And you have Captain America, Symbol of Truth, who is Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, who is no longer the Falcon. He is also Captain America. So in the Marvel 616, we have two Captain Americas. The original and the former sidekick who is doing his thing. And in this, we're on issue number 5. And these issues have tied in to the Wakandan nation. And this is a culmination, number 5 is a culmination of what has occurred in 1 through 4. And let me just tell you something. My man, what's his name? Hold on. I'm gonna butcher his name. I apologize.
You talking about the writer?
The writer, Tochi Onyebuchi.
Onyebuchi, yeah.
Tochi Onyebuchi, and if I'm mispronouncing his name, I apologize. But in these books, he's got the Wakandans and he's got T'Challa. And in this one book, he has treated T'Challa better than another writer who I will not mention has done in 8 or 9 issues of the current run.
Really?
Bless you. T'Challa in this book is regal. He is determined, and the Wakandans around him, his sister and the others, they are how I have envisioned Wakandans to be, going all the way back to Don McGregor. What we have now ain't it in the Black Panther's own title. In this is how T'Challa is supposed to be. He's authoritative. He's in command, even though he's not in charge. And it's just, this book was really good for a variety of different reasons. One of which is, without giving any spoilers, Sam Wilson, aka Captain America, is trying to hunt down some terrorists who are trying to terrorize things. Not saying who that terrorist is, but Sam, through his connections, has found out that it originates from Wakanda. Officially, Sam, as Captain America, tried to convince the Wakandan government to allow him to come in to track down these terrorists. They said no. So he decided to go in undercover. Things happen, culminating in the fact that he, Sam, has conflict with the government for coming into their country unannounced, secretly. And this is an examination of how America is. Because we think we're right, we can do whatever we want. And that's in current geopolitical standpoint, this current geopolitics. Tanichi captures that extremely well. Tochi captures that extremely well because he looks at. I'm assuming he's black. I'm assuming he's maybe Nigerian. Do you know?
I don't know what particular country, other than he's African.
Right, but he captures the attitude of America well, and how a strong nation could and should respond to our encouragement. Because let's be frank about this. What Sam did was an incursion. He thought he was right, and he may very well have been. but he was told not to do certain things. He did it anyway, and he's having to face the result of that. And this was a brilliant. This one book alone, issue number 5 of Captain America: Symbol of Truth, is better than the entirety of the current run of Black Panther, in my humble opinion.
I can't say I disagree. I thought this series so far has been very well written.
Yep.
The artwork is absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful artwork. The rendering of Sam Wilson is impeccable. The biggest sort of controversy regarding this issue is the fight. You see the fight between Sam Wilson and T'Challa. T'Challa has on his suit, which, as you all know, absorbs energy, allows him to direct energy blast back, and has various, tricks up his sleeve. Sam Wilson's wearing a football jersey, jeans, and some sneakers, and is somehow able to be in a fight with T'Challa and have them fight toe-to-toe with T'Challa while he's in a suit. Sam has no superpowers, just his hands. And
that's not exactly true. He's got no physical superpowers.
He has no physical superpowers. His bird thing doesn't count. He has no physical superpowers. He is a peak human who engages in regular, strenuous physical activity. T'Challa is enhanced with the heart-shaped herb, which makes him bigger, stronger, faster, increased stamina, healing properties, and Sam Wilson's able to fight him toe-to-toe while he has his suit, which boosts him even further. That doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't like that. A lot of Black Panther fans are, calling it out. My boy Herschel is, of course, probably have about 10 copies of this, probably because of that, because he's a troll and hates Black Panther.
Can you pull up some of the pages? Because they're in.
I don't want to give away the storyline.
No, I'm not trying to give away the storyline, but this one image right here shows Sam Wilson punching T'Challa in a suit that absorbs kinetic energy.
It doesn't make that just it didn't.
This doesn't make sense. I agree with Paul on that, because as I read this, I'm like, does Sam have on something extra? Because there's no reason for T'Challa to be bent over. His suit absorbs kinetic energy, right? Like just much like Sebastian Shaw of there we go. Not of the X-Men, but formerly of the Hellfire Club and now Krakoa. T'Challa shouldn't have been fazed by this, because Sam is just a guy, That's like punching Iron Man's armor and expecting Tony Stark to double over in pain. That wouldn't happen. But one thing that I did like is that in this issue, Sam Wilson channeled Killmonger from the Black Panther movie. And a lot of what he was saying to T'Challa in this issue, without spoiling it, without saying anything, I could see Killmonger saying, and I appreciated that from the writer, because I don't recall that ever being said to T'Challa in comic books. Killmonger, yes, but in comics, I don't recall that ever happening. What's going on, Austin? How you doing?
You're quite welcome, Austin. We do this every week.
We do it on Fridays, not every week, but regularly. Well, semi-regularly on Fridays.
Whenever we do this show, we always talk about T'Challa.
Yeah. So, but all that being said, Captain America: Symbol of Truth is an extremely good book. If you want to see how T'Challa really is the character that has been developed over the past 55 years, read Captain America: Symbol of Truth. T'Challa's not the main guy or the main person in this book, but in issue number 5, this is how T'Challa is, not what's going on in his own title. This is, I just can't.
I feel like I'm just buying Black Panther, the current run right now, out of habit, and because I have to keep my collection complete.
Yep.
Which pisses me off, because I hate my hard-earned money going towards a book that I really think is just not good.
Well, I mean, we've had this conversation in this space previously. Both of us, me and Paul, as comic book collectors in general, Black Panther collectors specifically, are being held hostage due to our Black Panther fandom as collectors. We cannot not have Black Panther in our collection, but the current run is just ass. It sucks. What's the writer? Ridley, John Ridley. He needs to be fired off this book. He's destroyed the mythos that is T'Challa. Wakanda was already destroyed by Coates, and now Ridley is destroying T'Challa. Everything that made T'Challa as a character great, and it's just, it's really pathetic. And like Paul says, we're having to spend $4 or $5 a book every month, even though we don't like what we're getting. I don't like this run. I think this run sucks from issue number 1, even though the art I liked. Page 2 or 3, you had Wakandans talking to their former monarch.
Like do we have to talk about this? I don't even want to talk about this. I don't like giving that book any airtime. It's trash.
Black Panther by John Ridley is trash. John Ridley needs to be fired off this book. Now, I Am Batman supposedly is good. So, more power to him.
Yeah, Ridley's a good writer. He's just not on this book.
Right.
All right. So, listen, if you're watching us right now and you like what you're hearing, you can help us out by liking, sharing, subscribing to our channel, our YouTube channel, and commenting. That's how we are able to afford all this stuff that you see on the screen here and keep it going.
Have you shared the link on Twitter so I can retweet it?
Yes, it should be shared on Twitter.
All right, go ahead.
So with that, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Wakanda Forever after this short break. Thanks. Let's go.
Don't forget, go to blackcomiclords.net. Get you some merch. That beautiful shirt that Paul has on, you can get that sticker that Tamiko just showed you. You can get that. You can get that on a shirt. You can get that on a mask. You can get that on a backpack. You can get that on a mug. You can get that on you can get that on anything. We got it for you. We got some heat for you. Go to our website, blackcomiclords.net. And check us out. Let's go.
And we are back. Wakanda Whiskey and Blerd-dom with Paul and Marc. We just wrapped up our discussion on Reads of the Week, and now we're moving on to Wakanda Forever. Trailer dropped this week. Second trailer, expanded upon it. Marc refuses to watch it because he's boycotting the movie. So we're not going to talk about. Let's see. At Austin Recraft, John really has really destroyed the T'Challa legacy. It bothers us.
Yeah.
So here's the deal.
Coach destroyed Wakanda. And, in all fairness, Coach did T'Challa well. T'Challa was fine. What he did overall from a narrative story standpoint, I do not like how he treated the mythos of Wakanda. I absolutely.
All right. Well, we're past that. We're past that.
Well,
I disagree.
We're addressing the comment. And
all right.
like
So here's the thing.
Really has destroyed T'Challa. Yes.
Yeah. Great. So Wakanda Forever is coming out in a few weeks. Both Marc and I agree that T'Challa should have been recasted after the passing of the great Chadwick Boseman. May he rest his soul. But that's not happening. That's not happening. Clearly, Marvel is going to shelve the character for a while, as indicated by the MCU people. And I said this after Chadwick Boseman passed, that Marvel, being the way it works, always synchronizes what happens in the MCU with what ultimately is going to happen in the comics. They like to be on the same page. So when the announcement was made that T'Challa would not be recast, I immediately realized that means they're going to have to shelve T'Challa in the comic books to meet that narrative. Someone else has to take over the mantle of Black Panther ultimately in the comics at some point. I think that's where we're going to go in the comics. And I think John Ridley's run, which Mark and I both detest, is evident of that. They are shelving the character. He just got kicked out of the Avengers. If you're reading Avengers, he's kicked out of there as well.
But that hasn't happened yet. I think it's coming up.
It's coming up. He's not happy. He's not in a very happy place. He's very nihilistic and very emo right now, and down in the dumps, depressed. His girl broke up with him, said you're trash. His sister barely respects him. It's not a good time for T'Challa fans right now. That being said, Wakanda Forever trailer 2 dropped. The trailer was cool. It was brilliant. It was epic. Beside the fact that they're not recasting T'Challa, I personally believe it's important to support this film for a number of reasons. The top one being, the first Black Panther film broke barriers. It broke the myths that a Black-led character could not be successful, both here and, more importantly, abroad. There was talk that they wouldn't even put Chadwick Boseman's face on the poster of his own film because they were afraid that the Asian market would not accept a Black lead on the poster of a film. The Black Panther shattered those barriers, not just for the actors, but the fact that it had a Black director, Black producer, many Black people behind the scenes who helped make the film, and it was a multi-billion-dollar film. There's no coincidence that after that film and its success happened, you had a plethora of Black superheroes pop up in both television and film, and even in the comic books for that matter. And all of that is due to Hollywood, big business, comics, however you want to phrase it, recognizing that, quite honestly, the racism that holds back marketing these characters is preventing you from making money.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm gonna take issue with something that you said. What Black characters popped up after this movie in television and movies?
What showed up in Black Lightning?
Because I'm looking to see when that dropped. Black Lightning came out in 2017. This movie dropped in 2018. So no.
Black Panther just got introduced in 2016 in Civil War.
True. That's true.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that his character was so popular, but the film itself also made a lot of other things pop up. All right, so you have to support this film for that reason alone, because it is a Black-made film.
No, it's not.
It is in the sense
owned
that
by Marvel. Marvel is a white...
I corrected myself when I said it was owned. Obviously, it's not owned.
Right.
Black people.
It's owned by Marvel, which is owned by Disney.
But that's not the point.
By white folks.
That's not the point. The point is the creators behind it, the visions behind it, the talent behind it, yes. The art behind it, the actors behind it.
Yep.
The characters portrayed within it are a bunch of people that look like us.
That is correct. However,
and its success will have a ripple effect in a greater sense that's important. Mark hasn't seen the trailer, so he's going to be somewhat biased and unenlightened. I thought it was dope to see Namor in live action for the first time, seeing his little ankle feet flop around. I thought that was really dope. I'm not one of those people that takes extreme issue with the fact they sort of changed its origin somewhat from,
Somewhat, a lot.
yeah. But I mean, does it really matter to the overall sense of the story?
No, but no, it doesn't. But they've completely
I
changed.
also love seeing
Yes.
Riri Williams pop up on screen and say "Let's go" and seeing her fly up in her suit. I'm looking forward to that as a father of a 11-year-old girl. I look forward to her seeing that image on the screen. A brilliant girl who's into science and technology and engineering and can make a super suit for herself. That's important.
Where's my super soup?
Having a black female Black Panther, or at least one, there's probably multiples actually. Having the Midnight Angels on the screen, which is a more badass version of the Dora Milaje. Black girls need to see that. It's important. It's important. I hope this movie success. I think it's a mistake not to recast T'Challa. But this movie, its success is important.
You done?
I'm done. Go ahead and go on your tirade.
Thank you. Now, I hope this movie fails. I hope that it does not make the money that the first movie makes. I'll take issue with Paul said that it made multiple billions. It didn't. It made $1 billion and some change. Multiple billions to me implies 2+. It didn't. It made over $1 billion, but it was a very successful movie, Black Panther, when it came out. I want to say that was the most successful MCU movie of a singular character for a solo individual. Then Captain Marvel came out and made $1 billion as well, but it was sandwiched in between Marvel, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. So that's the reason why that movie made the money that it did. But in reference to Wakanda Forever, I take the exact opposite approach. I don't want you to see this movie because if this movie is as successful or more than the first, Marvel, Kevin Feige, Nate Moore, Ryan Coogler, and all the creatives behind it have absolutely no incentive whatsoever to recast the main character, the main Black Panther in Marvel 616, who is T'Challa. I agree with Paul that having these other images of other powerful Black heroes, specifically women, is important. I agree with that. However, they've killed off the main protagonist just because an actor died. If they did not kill off the character, if they had him off-world doing the intergalactic empire, if they set this film during the blip, if they had him injured as it was in the comic books, I wouldn't take issue with what they've done. But T'Challa is recognized as the first mainstream Black character, and they're killing off the character because an actor died. That makes no sense to me. I love Chadwick Boseman as much as anybody, but I can separate whoever the Facebook user is. Don't laugh at me. I can separate Chadwick Boseman, the live human being who went to Howard University, who was a brilliant actor, versus.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rico.
Let me finish. I can separate Chadwick Boseman from the character that he played. Okay, Chadwick Boseman is dead. God rest his soul. T'Challa in the MCU is not. If we had had 2-3 movies that were T'Challa centric, that really focused on him as a person, as a ruler, as a potential lover to Storm or Nakia or whoever, the recast T'Challa movement would not be a thing. But because they have made the decision to kill off arguably the most important Black superhero in modern times, I cannot support this. I will not support this. I saw the first trailer and I was forced to, because when I went to go see The Woman King, that trailer played. I never clicked on it on YouTube. I've avoided it specifically because I cannot, will not, do not support their decision. I look at it like this. I understand that there are a lot of black creators behind this. I understand that, all the actors, directors, all this are black. And this may adversely impact them. I get that. But the analogy that I use is this. McDonald's is a huge multi-country, multinational corporation. If the people at the top of McDonald's decide to make a decision that I as a consumer disagree with, then I'm going to boycott McDonald's. Now, the McDonald's down the street is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, who happen to be black. If I tell all my friends don't go to McDonald's because of the decision that corporate makes, yes, that will unfortunately adversely affect Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, but it's not directed, no, Richard, I will not. It's not directed at them as franchisees. It's directed at the decision that was made at the top. And the decision that was made at the top in regards to this by killing off the main black superhero, nope, not going to support it. No, Richard, I will not go see this movie. I don't support it. I wish the best for all the actors, but that role needs to be recast. And Paul and I have said, we've had this conversation multiple times over the past 2 years since the unfortunate, untimely death of Chadwick Boseman. I personally said that I have no issue with Black Panther 2 being Shuri-centric because of the fact that that is comic book accurate. In, leading up to Doom War, T'Challa was injured and Shuri had to take over. That makes sense. While T'Challa recuperated, Shuri was the Black Panther and the ruler of Wakanda. That makes perfect sense. They could have done this in the movie. I have no problems with Black Panther 2 being Shuri-centric. And what I've always said is at the end, either in an after-credit scene or something along those lines, or going back to the beginning, have T'Challa, the Black Panther, injured in his uniform or costume. And then, you don't see his face, you have him injured, you rush him into emergency room, whatever the case may be. Then Shuri takes over, tries to get revenge, rule, whatever the case may be. Then at the end of the movie, you have a new actor as T'Challa show up. You placate both sides of this.
All right, so let's talk.
Hold on. I wasn't finished. Hold on.
Dude, come on. You've been talking for 10 minutes.
Finished. You placate both sides by having to being Shuri-centric. You have the second movie focused on, getting people accustomed to Chadwick Boseman not being there. Then at the end, you have a new actor in the role. We as fans know why the role is being recast. Because Chadwick Boseman is dead. God rest his soul. Right?
All right. You can do That's fine. Time out. I get what you're saying, but that's kind of the whole segment of what we're supposed to talk about is what would be a more ideal story. Now, here's the reason why I bring
not killing T'Challa.
Hold on. I let you talk
not
for 10 minutes straight.
That's it.
Calm down. All right. You haven't even watched the trailer, so most of what you're saying makes no sense.
Is T'Challa? They're having a funeral about T'Challa. Yes or no?
We don't know. We honestly don't know.
Okay. All right.
We don't know everything about this.
You're being disingenuous.
I'm not. And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. There are many scenarios that may happen. I think the movie is 2 hours and 41 minutes. I've seen the leaks as to what the plot is. If the plot that they are, I will say this, and I'm not going to say what the leaks are, but the leaks that I've seen as to what the plot is and what I've seen in the trailer, I don't see anything that sort of discounts that. I think for the most part, the leaks may be very accurate. If that's the way they're going to go, the most prominent, and I think this is pretty much all over the internet, the most prominent part of the leaks is the concept that, Nakia is going to have T'Challa's baby. And that's how they're going to continue the Black Panther as T'Challa. is by
But
having.
that's not T'Challa.
I agree. I agree that they'll in essence have a baby T'Challa and call him T'Challa, call him T'Challa Jr.
A bastard baby, because they.
I don't. Well, yeah. I mean, if that's what part of the leak says. I really think that's a mistake if that's the route they're going to take. You had a story about a black family, a royal black family, mother, father, children. To have the Black Panther continue as someone whose daddy died and he got raised by his mama and them. Really, Marvel? If that's the route you're going to take, I strongly disagree with that.
So then you're kind of contradicting yourself, because you basically acknowledging the fact.
I said if the leak is accurate, and that's the storyline to go with, I disagree with that. So what I'd like to talk about is what would be a way that one of the comments that was put here by Jerwayne Cook. He said, Marvel put themselves in a corner, and they did. Marvel put themselves in a corner when they stupidly announced, we're not recasting T'Challa.
This was around December of 2020. T'Challa,
right.
Chadwick Boseman had been dead for about 3 months, and they said they weren't going to recast. They didn't have to do that. They
didn't even say they didn't even specify we're not recasting just for this film. They said we're just not recasting T'Challa. They left it open-ended, and that started a whole rave. I mean, that's basically what the recast T'Challa movement got started. A simple solution to this whole issue.
Recast T'Challa. It's that simple. T'Challa's not dead. Chadwick Boseman is. I'm
talking about after Marvel made the announcement and they've already set things in motion. They already agreed they're not going to recast. How could they have fixed it and had some type of midway point where both sides could be happy? A simple solution. Have the movie take place during the blip. And people would immediately say, well, Shuri died in the blip as well. She got blipped too. Well, did she? No one saw Shuri get blipped. What you saw was at the end of Endgame. Was it Endgame or Infinity War?
It was
Infinity. I always get the two of those titles mixed up.
At the beginning of Endgame, when they're showing all the people who were blipped.
No, it's Infinity War. It was Infinity War.
No, because the Infinity War ended with everybody blipped and dusted.
That's what I'm talking about. So Infinity War, at the end of Infinity War, the last thing you saw Shuri doing was working on the Mind Stone. They took the stone from her. And that's the last you saw of her.
But then in Endgame, they showed.
I'm getting there. Let me finish. So at the beginning of Endgame, they're showing a screen at the Avengers base of all the people that disappeared. So we know that Shuri disappeared based on they sort of allude to that, but we didn't really see her get blipped. An easy way would have been to say something happened to her, that she went into the other realm.
Dude, that's being convoluted. Basically,
not really.
Hold on. Wakanda is a very private nation. Okay, you don't even have to be that convoluted. You could just say, "Hey, we were wrong. We didn't know. We don't have the intel in Wakanda to know whether or not Shuri was alive or not." So
that's fine. That's fine. Same thing. That's fine. The point I'm trying to make is you never saw Shuri necessarily. They could assume, the Avengers could assume that she's gone,
right? Because
she's not around, but. For all you know, she went on walkabout to learn how to become Black Panther or something like that. That could be the storyline of the film. Is the Avengers just got it wrong? You never saw her blip.
The Avengers got it wrong. They did not see her blip. Right.
They have to have this take place during the. They're having the funeral in the movie because T'Challa is assumed dead because he blipped, right? So having the funeral makes sense. This takes place in the 5-year period. We have Queen Ramona taken over because Shuri, for some reason, doesn't want to be Black Panther. Or,
are you talking of fantasy or speculation?
I'm saying this is what I would have done to fix as Jermaine phrased it, Marvel putting them in a corner, putting themselves in a corner with that stupid statement that they're not recasting T'Challa. So how do you fix it? Have the movie take place in the 5-year period. Have Shuri become the Black Panther during that by going through her trials and tribulations. And then at the end of the film, 5 years have passed. She's Black Panther, and T'Challa comes back.
Right. Yes. And it's a new actor. Yeah.
And it's a new actor.
There were two.
The fact that they're doing reshoots. It's possible.
Right. There are two logical ways that they could have addressed Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul, issue. Right. Like Paul just said, have the movie set during the blip, or have T'Challa injured in costume, and then recuperate at the end of the movie. They did not have to kill off the character just because of the fact that Chadwick Boseman died. What do you guys think about Marvel crowning Tulsa with the mantle? Absolutely not. No. Awesome.
Oh, hell no.
No. Okay. T'Challa is the main Black Panther.
Am I cool with having a new Wakandan hero? Absolutely. More Black heroes that aren't legacy, of white heroes. I'm all for it. I'd love to see more Wakandan heroes. What I'd love to see that's overdue in the comics is a Wakandan team, not Agents of Wakanda, which is made up of a bunch of foreigners, which made no sense to me. But I mean, there's enough Wakandan superheroes that have been introduced in the comics over the years. Wakanda should have its own damn super team by now. Right. How is Marvel not done this yet?
Well, the MCU is only 14 years old, and they can't do everything at all times.
Why are you assuming this has anything to do
with it? We're not assuming that it has anything to do with it.
We're postulating ways that Marvel could pull itself out of the stupid decision not to recast T'Challa and make it work, so that he could be recast in the future.
The assumption
because again, understand, Marc and I don't have a problem with Shuri taking over the mantle
at all.
We're all for it, but T'Challa doesn't have to die in order to do that. He could be on walkabout or disappear.
That's the issue that I have with this whole thing. Two things. Number one, if the series of Black Panther had 2 or 3 movies that were T'Challa centric, there would be no recast T'Challa movement. Let's be clear about that. The only reason why there is a recast T'Challa movement is because we, as fans of the character, have not seen his full story told. Right. Remember, in his own solo movie, he was gone for a third of the movie. Okay? Yeah. The movie was basically Black Panther : Killmonger. Okay? It was almost like Black Panther T'Challa was an ancillary character in his own film.
Right.
If he had a full story arc, the way Tony Stark has, the way Steve Rogers has, the way Thor has, there wouldn't be this movie. It would be narratively fine to move on to Shuri once we saw T'Challa go through all his trials and tribulations and have growth as a character. We haven't had that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bakari. Tulsa should just be a new hero and call it a day. He doesn't have to take over.
And that's fine. I mean, if he wants to show up in Black Panther 3 or 4 or whatever, fine. But no, as the quote-unquote Black Panther, no. T'Challa will have been killed by Namor or something to do with his people. He doesn't even have to be killed, okay? Injured is fine. And that's one of the other things about T'Challa for me as a longtime fan. There are stories that are unique to him. Yes, a lot of them you can give to other characters like Shuri. But as a reader of the character, there are things that T'Challa did that I want to see. Understand that the character of T'Challa is considered one of the top 10 most brilliant people on the face of the planet Earth in Marvel 616. And he ain't number 10, okay? I, as a fan of the character, wanted to see him match wits against Dr. Doom. I, as a fan of the character, wanted to see him match physicality with Namor, which is now, I guess, going to be Shuri, okay? I, as a fan of the character, wanted to see him ride off into the sunset with Storm and have their kids. And now the fact that, Nakia's going to be pregnant with his bastard, I'm not interested in that.
Another alternative theory is that Nakia had, and this is just a rumor that went around, Nakia actually, remember, at the beginning of Black Panther, Nakia's off being a war dog or what have you, doing her thing outside of Wakanda. So she's been gone for some time. And they were obviously a couple or lovers before she left, right? Because Shuri said, that's your ex-girlfriend. What if after she left Wakanda, she had his baby, unbeknownst to him, outside of Wakanda?
I don't like the idea that he wasn't married and he's fathering bastards.
I agree.
Like
I agree. I'm just telling you what the rumor is. And the rumor is that, at this period of time during the blip, this kid is he's been around for several years. He may even be like 10 years old.
Don't want it.
From the trailers, Queen Mother thinks Shuri and T'Challa are dead. I'm thinking it has to do with Namor and or Dr. Doom. Yeah, probably. Although everyone's talking about Namor and Dr. Doom, everyone's skipping over the fact that Atuma is the big bad, one of the big bads in this film.
Do you know who's playing him? Who's playing Atuma?
Doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
No, I'm asking.
I mean, no, I don't know. I don't know who's playing it. I don't think it's anyone who's a big deal, or else he'd be in all the interviews, and no one's ever pointed him out. All of the publicity they've done, they have not shown Atuma. So, although he is a villain, he is apparently not a very big enough one to show up to D23 or Comic-Con. Austin says you're right, guys. Black Panther's supposed to lead the MCU into the future. Yeah, he was supposed to take over the damn Avengers.
I mean, in the comic books, T'Challa is the chairman of the Avengers.
Well, until next issue.
Right. Hold on a second. Oh, but as I was saying, the dude who plays Namor, Tino Huerta, or however you pronounce his name, I haven't seen him in anything.
He was in Narcos Mexico, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that. Okay, so I'm looking at the cast list of the individuals who are in the movie, and again, this is the most that I've done. I have.
Bakari says Riri should sprout from the movie into her own. Bakari, she has a TV show coming out.
Series, right?
Yeah, she has a Disney Plus series coming out.
Right. But
and in case you haven't got it, make sure you pick up Riri's action figure. It's a deluxe action figure, not just the regular 6-inch series. It's more detailed than your average action figure.
Okay. So Atuma, as Paul just said, is in this movie. I didn't know that. But a guy by the name of Alex Livanali is the one who's playing the role. And
as I said, nobody did, but no one knows.
And looking at his IMDb profile, he was in a couple of episodes of Ozark. If you have not watched Ozark on Netflix, you are missing out. He was in an episode of The Walking Dead, just one episode of American Horror Story, episode of MacGyver. So yeah, nobody that is well known. And that's one of the things about my displeasure with Marvel deciding not to recast. Being in these movies,
Archester asked, "Are you thinking Riri and Shuri becomes friends due to the Wakanda outreach program?"
Yes, probably.
I believe so. Probably.
Right. But one of the things that people are not understanding is that in the MCU, it elevates actors into new and better roles. Why would you not want to have another brother be elevated as an actor to new and better roles?
Wait, hold on. Look what Chester said. African kings would have concubines, so a child outside of wedlock isn't too out of pocket.
Okay, hey Chester, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and put whatever you're drinking down.
What happens when Wakanda whiskey and BLERDDOM goes too far?
I don't want T'Challa to have, concubines or whatever.
What happens? This is why some people shouldn't drink that brown liquor.
Right. T'Challa has had 2, maybe 2.5 loves. Monica Lynn, and I wanted to see that. I wanted to see a story where he met and was in love with the Monica Lynn. Janelle Monáe was my favorite fan cast for Monica Lynn. I also wanted to see him be with Storm in Marvel 616 in a whole bunch of alt-world or future stories. T'Challa and Storm are together and they have kids and grandkids. That's what I wanted to see, the potential for that to happen. And now that's gone if they kill the character. They did not have to kill the character because an actor died. And that's what I take the most umbrage with. It didn't have to be that way.
A. Chester's asking, who is Atuma?
Atuma is an Atlantean who basically fights against Namor all the time. And it's Atuma.
Yeah.
Atuma is a very strong Atlantean who's a nemesis basically to Namor.
He's basically Namor's Killmonger.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah. A. Chester also says, by the way, I'm loving this discourse by grown black men.
Thank you.
We love to get our grown man on.
Yeah.
I already have several Riri Marvel Legends action figures. Do you all have the new Marvel Legends Black Panther figure?
No, I think those new Marvel Legends figures are just repackaged.
They really
Black
are.
Panther 1 or Civil War figures.
They're really not that different than the ones from Black Panther.
The only thing that's different is the packaging.
It really is. There's not a significant difference enough.
One thing that I want to talk about. Hold on, I haven't hit the birthday yet, but let it go, bro. It's not his birthday, is it? He has outside kids. No, he does not. His pull-out game is top notch. Stop that, okay?
Oh
He's
my
got
God.
vibranium condoms. All right, he has no outside kids. He's not a bastard maker. Stop that. But
it's interesting. In none of the comics, in 50 years of comics, there's never been like T'Challa having a out of wedlock child in an alternate universe or anything like that.
Never.
It's another reason to respect the character.
Yep, he's always been married to Storm.
Yeah.
Something that I want to talk about, and I want to switch gears. I think we beat this topic into the ground.
Hold on, we got a couple more comments here.
Do you
You think Coogler and the rest?
I think probably Coogler did. The cast, they don't matter, they're employees. But I think Coogler, Nate Moore, and Kevin Feige probably had a conversation. And Coogler is on record as saying that after Chadwick Boseman died, he didn't know if Coogler, wanted to make more movies. This obviously affected him drastically. So Coogler, was probably against the recast. As a individual who, if I was in charge of the property, if I was Kevin Feige and Coogler said that, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do, Coogler. You can write the film and you can be a producer, but we're going to have T'Challa because that character is important. And I don't know if any of them realize or recognize how important the character is. So that's the issue that I have. But I think Coogler probably did. Nate Moore definitely did. Kevin Feige probably deferred to them. I'm guessing. I don't know, but yeah. T'Challa here's what's funny about that. In the Reginald Hudlin run, leading up to the marriage of Storm, there was a cover. I don't remember what the issue is, but there's a cover of
right before he got married.
Women.
Yes.
And there's an implication that T'Challa had bedded these particular women. She-Hulk.
That's the impression they tried to make.
Right. But in comics, the only one that we know, the two that we know he was with, was Storm, who he was married to, and Monica Lynn, who he was in a long-time relationship with. And I think there are things where there's a book or two where he flirted with Susan Storm. Susan Storm, as an aside, is a thought, because she's always been flirting with Namor, despite the fact that she's got a whole husband and 2 kids. So
you called Susan Storm?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Can you pull up that cover real quick of the one?
I can. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, let me see which one it is. Let's see, Black Panther. That was volume 4. Yeah.
Volume 4. This is the cover.
Yeah.
Issue 14.
Yep. So, like I said, this led up to the run before T'Challa married Storm, Aurora. right? And so they had all these women on here, like, okay, who's T'Challa gonna pick? As if he's been with Rogue or Rogue or Spider Woman or She Hulk. The only one on this picture that he definitely had been with was Storm and had flirted with Sue. There was never any indication that he had flirted ever with Monica Rambeau or Spider Woman or She Hulk or Rogue. So, but yeah,
It was funny. I mean, that issue that dealt with the flirting was FF4. I have that here somewhere. Hold on. No, that's not it. It was
it was a long time ago though.
Marvel Knights. Sorry, I said FF4. It's Marvel Knights. Yeah, this is the issue here. If you're ever interested in seeing how T'Challa, and this was written by Reggie Hudlin, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So this is Marvel Knights Fantastic Four, or
Marvel Knights Fantastic Four. I remember. Well, I don't know if Reggie Hudlin wrote this particular story, but this is the issue in which he flirted with her. And I remember on Twitter a few years ago, we were talking about, how had this disdain over the fact they broke up Storm and T'Challa. And Reggie Hudlin chimed in and said, "Yeah, if I'd known they were doing that, I would have had him smash Sue Storm."
Yeah,
I about fell out my chair when I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, T'Challa, he's not a coxman like that. All right, Hercules, yeah. Thor, yeah. Johnny Storm, yeah.
Floyd said, "Floyd, he smashed Sue Storm in this point."
That's
she
a
certainly
rumor,
wanted it
Floyd.
the way it was written.
Floyd, that's a rumor. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so
he knows that
let's
well.
Susan Storm slept with a bunch of people in the comic. No, she hasn't. She's flirted with a bunch of people.
She is a perpetual flirter.
Right. I don't think Namor ever hit. I mean, she loves Reed, but she's loyal to Reed, but she likes the attention, I think, that she gets from other men.
That's only A. Chester, because I've been reading comics since I was 4 years old, and I'm old, so.
But yeah,
Luke Cage has had his fair share.
Yes. Luke Cage is a coxman. I mean, he's not married to Jessica, but they've got a kid, so that is in line with the character of that particular character. T'Challa, not.
Yeah, their relationship started out as a one-night stand, basically.
Right, and they've been together in comics 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
speaking of, let's see, who else was I going to talk about? No, let's do that.
Well, okay. While you're thinking about that, I want to kind of stop hating on T'Challa. He gets it in, bunch of side kids. Block whoever HS is. Block him. There will be no T'Challa slander.
Don't get
that's
started
true.
on.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Rogue. I didn't mean that. The Indian. The builder. You mentioned
Forge.
his name. What's his name?
Forge.
I say Rogue. Forge. She kissed definitely Wolverine. I don't know if they slept together.
Yes, they had a whole relationship. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So Storm has gotten it in around her team. Yes. T'Challa, all he does is protect Wakanda and pray to Bass. That's all he does.
T'Challa really hasn't had that many women. He's had
two.
More than that. He had the blonde girl in college who was Everett K. Ross's boss in the Priest run.
Oh, right. Yes.
So he had her, then he had Monica Lynn, and he had Storm.
3.
That's it.
And then Nakia in the comics liked him.
No. Nakia liked him, but it wasn't.
They never. Right.
He was drugged and kissed her and accidentally.
Right. So 3 women over a 56-year period. Oh, you're getting blocked. You come up with some more damn T'Challa slander. Damn it. All right. Switching gears though. Switching gears. Have you been watching?
All right,
Game
hold
of
on.
Thrones House
Before
of
we
the
switch gears, I want to, thank you all for watching us. If you're liking the chatter, if you're liking the discussion, please hit the like button. It'll just take you a second. It's right there on your screen. Just take your thumb, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm so that we can keep doing what we're doing. It costs you nothing but a second. Just go ahead and hit it right now. I'll pause. I'll wait. Thank y'all who did that. So before we move on, just a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll get into our blurred shit.
Don't forget, go to blackcomiclords.net. Get you some merch. That beautiful shirt that Paul has on, you can get that sticker that Tamiko just showed you. You can get that. You can get that on a shirt. You can get that on a mask. You can get that on a backpack. You can get that on a mug. You can get that on you can get that on anything. We got it for you. We got some heat for you. Go to our website, blackcomiclords.net. And check us out.
Let's go.
Speaking of Black Comic Lords merch, this newest creation.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Our black superheroes.
So we got, what was that? Black Lightning.
I'll let you guess. Go ahead.
Black Lightning, Thunder, Rocket, Static.
Thunder. What are you talking about? Thunder.
Next to Black Lightning, his daughter.
That's no black. Next to Black Lightning is Nubia.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Rocket, Static, T'Challa, Storm.
Correct.
I'm gonna be honest.
Although for legal purposes,
yeah,
those are not who those are.
Right, but Storm allegedly looks like the last Airbender with that damn arrow on her forehead. But anyway, switching gears.
We're not trying to get into the copyright infringement issues with Marvel.
Right. Have you been watching Game of Thrones House of the Dragon?
I have. This is where we get into our blurred portion of the discussion, people. So we're completely blurred out on television and movies.
Britt, can you bring up a picture of Lord Corlys Valerian?
AKA the dude that would probably do a very good job playing Dr. Voodoo. Do you know the actor's name?
Steve Toussaint. Toussaint.
I know how to spell
T-O-U-S-S-A-I-N-T.
Yep. Images. This dude is so ready to play Brother Voodoo.
Let me tell you something. Shows like this, the fantasy shows like this, give a high profile to these actors. I had never heard of Kit Harington prior to Game of Thrones, right? Steve Toussaint, I personally had heard of because he was in the series, the miniseries on Amazon Prime called Black Axe?
Yes, Small Axe. Yes.
Small Axe. And it was a series of vignettes that dealt with different stories. And he was in a series, in an episode where he played the father of John Boyega. And when I first saw him, I was like, okay, this dude would be a great Dr. Voodoo. Now people are becoming familiar with him because of House of the Dragon as Lord Corlys Valerian. And hopefully his profile will increase because of this series. He's older than what I would want to cast somebody playing a new superhero role. I think that most people should be cast before the age of 50 so they can have the role for 10 plus years. But he's one of my top few choices to play Dr. Voodoo, and I fan cast him about 2-3 years ago when I first saw him. He's nailing that role. Have you seen last week's episode?
Yeah.
I didn't Steve play. Wait, what? House of the Dragon is dope. Yes. Didn't Steve play Dr. Manhattan? No. Dr. Manhattan was played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Yahya
Correct.
Abdul-Mateen plays Black Manta in Aquaman. That's who that is. You're confusing the two. He's significantly younger by about 20 years. Yeah, because this dude, Steve, is about 56, 57.
Is he that
Like
old?
that?
I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, he is. He is. Let me see. Let me look him up.
Dope series. I mean, there's been a lot of outcry about having Black people on Game of Thrones. Certainly, George R.R. Martin doesn't care. He's been cool with it, and he's one of the producers on the show, and he's the writer of the books. It's amazing how fanboys of fantasy can have
Don't like Black
outrage
people.
that Black people exist in a fantasy world
Right,
that's not based on history.
right, right,
It shatters their sensibilities of the universe
right.
that Black and brown people can be in a fantasy thing. It's the same thing with the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power show.
Which sucks.
Black elves? Are you kidding me?
Oh my
Black
God.
elves?
They're not white? Yeah. But Steve is 57. He's 57 years old. And that's a little
looks
bit
good for his age.
Wait, yeah, he does. He does. I mean, Black don't crack, and he moisturizes. There's a meme out there that has the actor Patty, I can't remember what his name is, but the one who plays the king. And they have a picture of him as he regularly looks from season 1. It says episode 1, and it has a picture of how he looks. And then episode 7, it has a picture of the Crypt Keeper, right? And then for episode 1 of Lord Valerian, it has him, and then episode 7, it has the way he still looks. And it's like, yeah, he moisturizes and Black doesn't crack. So, yeah. But he's 57 years old. But I can see him as Dr. Voodoo.
Dude, that scene in, I don't know what episode it was, maybe the 3rd episode, where the whole Valerian family comes into the Red Keep. All them Black folk with the white dreads comes into the Red Keep, and they playing the music, and they just step in all proudly.
Yeah.
Man, that was dope.
It's good that they kind of retcon this, because in the books, it doesn't say race necessarily. And so they've made the showrunners have made a decision to make them Black. When we watched the first Game of Thrones series, the original, there were no Black folks in seasons 1 through 3 until
not in Westeros.
Right.
The Black folk existed in the
right.
southern parts of the world, the Game of Thrones world.
On Easteros and the steppes and whatever, because
the Dornish kingdom or what have you.
Well, Dorne are more like Spanish-looking folks,
right?
But in Easteros, when Dany went over there and quote unquote freed the slaves, those were Black people. Yeah.
Man cave. I'm not gonna block you, man. You don't have to butter me up. But thank you. I appreciate it. The
one dude that I liked, the Crab King, the Crab guy, who was learning how to read, and he had that friend who was a ship's captain. I can't remember his name now, and I can see his face. But I'll never forget that scene where he's talking to the son of his friend, who was Stannis Baratheon's hand, and he was like, "I'm not going to rape her. I'm going to fuck her." And he was like one of the first.
Yeah, I remember that dude.
Yeah,
that was like one of the first Black people we saw
right.
have
That's
like
what I
a
was about to say. He
real
was one of
role.
the first Black people that we saw in the series. But yeah, in Westeros, we didn't see any Black
The
folks
only other Black
at all.
person you saw was this brother here on the right. Remember him?
Yeah, he
was in that city
Dorne.
with the rich
He
people.
was in Dorne, so he doesn't count.
Yeah.
He was in Dorne.
That was the first Black person you saw had like a actual role.
Right. Well,
Okay,
no. I think the other dude showed up first.
Did he? Are you
I
sure?
think so. Because remember, they were trying to storm King's Landing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. The
Yeah.
green fire, what have you. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. What was his name? Because he was in the series The Golden Compass. I can't remember his name, but he's supposed to be young, but I don't think he's as young as they're trying to make him seem.
Rico asks, what do you guys think about Shaggy being black in the new Scooby-Doo spinoff, Thelma?
Don't like it. And the reason why, we know that a lot of people smoke weed nowadays. I understand that it's legal in a lot of places. I get it. But making the stoner kid a black kid, I disagree with that. Why not make Fred black?
Because Fred's the lead white dude. That would destroy people's sense.
Well, again, Fred is the lead white dude. Why not make Fred a brother? Make the stoner dude black, white.
Yeah.
Velma. As kids, nobody didn't think that Velma wasn't gay, just like Peppermint Patty.
Yeah, we all knew. We all knew Thelma was gay.
But Velma could get it. Velma was more sexy than Daphne. Have you ever seen Velma fan cosplay, like on Twitter and Instagram?
I can either confirm or deny that. What's up, Derek? How you doing, man?
Okay. All right. Bless your heart. That's all I'll say. I gotta figure out what was the series that was based on the Golden Compass.
The series?
Yes.
You mean the series of books?
No. There was an HBO series that was based on the Golden Compass.
Oh, I don't know that, dude. I fell asleep watching the Golden Compass movie.
The movie wasn't as good, but the series was pretty good.
Bakari asks, what about Moon Girl? I can't wait for her series to come out. Look, let me tell you something. Moon Girl has the potential to be a big hit. A lot of people sleep on the fact that comic book ran for 47 issues. 47. You know how rare it is to have a black superhero run for 47 issues at Marvel? It doesn't happen that often. That's pretty significant. But that cartoon, I showed, look, on the same day that the new Wakanda Forever trailer came out, I showed it to my daughter to see her reaction. I wanted to see her reaction, gauge her reaction to seeing all these black women on the screen in Wakanda Forever. She watched it. She was like, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But immediately after that, the next video that played, because we're on the Marvel site, was the Moon Girl trailer for the new cartoon. Her face lit up. I mean, it could be due to her age, demographic-wise, that she's 11. So she responded more to the cartoon. And she is excited to see the Moon Girl cartoon. Like, she can't wait for that show to come out. The same way that she lit up when she saw the Ms. Marvel Disney Plus show. There is an untapped market, in my opinion, for young female superheroes of color.
She's not a superhero of color, but Squirrel Girl should be live action. And I don't need movies, but Disney Plus series would be great for that demographic.
Yeah. It absolutely would. It absolutely would. And I really hope they come out with more material, because there's a need there. My daughter's proof of it. There are girls out there that just don't have that type of material to soak in and absorb and enjoy, and that's unfair.
Right.
Derek points out that the book series that you were talking about, or the television series you're talking about, is called His Dark Materials.
His Dark Materials, right. The dude who I'm talking about, who was in Game of Thrones, who was in His Dark Materials, his name is Lucian, Lucian Mizamati, Msamati. If you can pull him up real quick.
Bakari said his daughter is excited too. And son MMV, I can't read Roman numerals, is a cool kids concept. She really is. And if you haven't read the comic books, check it out. Dope comic book. Really highly recommended. Really slept on, honestly.
Pull up this dude though, Lucian Msamati. Now this dude is supposed to be 45 years old. He looks every bit of 63. And I'm
Who is
thinking,
this? Oh, the dude from Game of Thrones.
yes, who was in his Dark Materials, yes. And his role, his character.
He looks like a Lucian too.
Wait a minute. Wasn't he in Gangs of London?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was old boy's father in Gangs of London.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
He was
yes,
the
yes,
gangster.
yes. He's supposed now listen, you look at this dude, look at the far picture on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth picture on the right? That's Lucian. He's supposed to be 45. You can't tell me that dude isn't 63 years old. He's probably using the Dominican birth certificate because there is no way that dude is less than 55 years old.
Wait, this dude's supposed to be 45 years old right now?
Yes, he supposedly, according to IMDb, was born in 1976.
Oh,
Okay.
damn. Yeah, this brother's not aging well.
Basically, this motherfucker was born in 1963. I would have to see his birth certificate to talk to his mammy to see when exactly he was born, because there is no way he's under 58 years old. There's just no way. But
Yeah, so look, London's got it can have not the best of weather for skin purposes.
Yeah, whatever.
This brother needs to go ahead and moisturize.
Right. There's no way he's 45. I've got him by 7 years. There's no way he's younger than me. Greg Oden. Greg Oden came out of the womb at 17 years old. Okay, let's just be clear about that.
Oh Lord.
I just mentioned. Paul and I just mentioned a series that this gentleman was in called Gangs of London. If you have not seen Gangs of London, I highly encourage you to watch it.
You'll be hooked from the very first episode. That's all I gotta say. Just watch the first episode.
Sope Dirisu is the star of that show. You may not know his name, and that's fine. He is my number 3 to play T'Challa if at any point they recast T'Challa. This brother, listen, watch episode 1 of Gangs of London. Find it, watch it. You will understand why I say that this dude could play that role. I mean, physically, he may not be as suave as Chadwick Boseman or Damson Idris, who is my number 1. But that brother, man, listen, I don't know what his background is, but he plays an action role well. This brother right here.
Look at this scene right here in the middle. This picture in the middle.
Right. If you've watched Peaky Blinders, the white dude on the third picture on the right, he was in Peaky Blinders as one of the brothers, and then his character was killed off, and then he went on to Gangs of London. And unfortunately, we've only had one season of this, but it is a phenomenal season. The guy who directed and created this is the guy who was behind the Raid franchise.
What do you think about this brother on the left who was also in Gangs of London? You had mentioned him for either, was it James Bond or was it also for T'Challa?
Not T'Challa. I didn't see him as T'Challa. I saw him as Prodigy. And
Prodigy, that's what it was.
Yes, I can see him as Prodigy.
What's his face? Something Crane.
Yes.
That's Prodigy's name.
Right.
Yeah, he could play that.
I can see him as Prodigy, and I could also see him as James Bond.
I don't know if he's got the grit for James Bond, but certainly Prodigy.
Right. For those who don't know, Prodigy is what is that, Image?
I think it's Image, yeah.
Yeah, Prodigy.
It's a Mark Millar book.
Right. Prodigy is a character written by Marc Millar, who is a brilliant person. Just imagine Mr. Terrific and T'Challa combined. Just a very brilliant physical guy.
He's perfect.
That's him. Yeah.
Basically, the dude is perfect.
And the book that you gave me, as I've said before in this space, I've not even finished because it was just absolutely asinine. But the Icarus Society, that's the current volume is really good. Have you been reading that?
I haven't. I've picked it up. I just haven't read it yet.
Oh my goodness, you're missing out. It's very good. It's really good. It gets my seal of approval.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. My bad. There we go. So yeah, this dude is like James Bond meets Reed Richards meets.
If you know who Mr. Terrific is, that's basically who Prodigy is.
Yeah. He's basically Mr. Terrific, but doesn't have any problems killing people.
Yeah.
And he's rich. Well, I guess Mr. Terrific's rich too.
Mr. Terrific is rich too.
Yeah, he's basically a multi-level genius. He's got like, call it 10 doctoral degrees, master's martial arts, master's finance. He's perfect.
The dude who we just saw, his name is Papa Essiedu. Paapaessiedu. That was the guy who we just said who could play that role, and that's why fan cast is Prodigy.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's so rare to have a character like this.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I thought it was dope.
Yeah, that's why fan cast is Prodigy, because I can see him playing that role. I don't know. It doesn't have his age on here. Can you pull up his picture again? Paapa.
Paa what?
Paapa. Second last name is Essiedu. You know what? This picture, I'm looking at him. I can see him as T'Challa, honestly.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm looking at these pictures, and I may have to rethink
I can see him
my
as
position. I could see him play T'Challa.
There's this picture of him right here in the blue. Click that
Look at this picture here. Look at the picture here with the suit.
A, he looks like Dwayne Wade in that picture. B, I can see him looking like.
Look
that.
at the intensity of the eyes.
Yeah,
that's what you got to have. Or right here.
Yeah, I can see that.
T'Challa got to have swagger, man.
I mean,
now what's interesting? Look at him with Michaela Cole, who's actually playing Oya. Is it Oya? No, she's not playing. She's playing Anika in Wakanda Forever.
Are they dating? Click that. Are they dating?
I don't know, but that's an interesting picture.
Yeah, it is. She's beautiful. You know what? I can see him. I need to include him.
This picture makes him look like T'Challa right there. You got that swag in...
I can see that. He was not in my top 5, but he's gonna have to go on the list. So that's the picture right there in the blue, the third one.
This one right here.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
he
can play a nice young T'Challa.
Right. Click that. Click that one. Make that one big. Yeah, I see T'Challa there. So going back to the whole T'Challa recast T'Challa discussion. In your world, you are now the producer of Prodigy is dope. He's okay. Not James Bond. I don't want Brad Pitt playing shit. What? What? I don't understand that. Like,
I think Rico got into some brown liquor too.
That wasn't Rico. He mastered martial arts as a kid watching a kung fu movie. That was dope. You're talking about Prodigy. Okay.
Yeah. Prodigy's a dope character.
Right. Okay, so Paul White Davis has now been the big mucky muck of Marvel. You have the decision to recast T'Challa. Who are your top 3? If you have 5, name them. Who you would charge? Who you would say?
Number 1, Damson Idris. That's a no-brainer. I'd give him a bunch of a year supply of protein shakes and a personal trainer.
Yep.
And get him swolled up a bit, and he wouldn't have to do anything else because his acting skills, his swagger, his presence, that brother got it all. He can do the accent because he's actually African background. that's a no-brainer for me. That's a no-brainer for me. Damson Idris would be the perfect T'Challa. I really like Sope Dirisu.
Yep.
He's got the physicality.
Yep.
He looks older than he actually is. But
well, he may have
that
one of them Dominican birth certificates too, because dude is supposedly 31. He looks every bit of 43.
He does. But maybe it's the beard. Maybe if he shaved the beard, he'd look
Nah,
younger. I don't know.
Nah, bro. He looks 43.
Number
hey,
3.
check your phone, because I just sent you a text message. Those are my top 5. But continue. So Damson Idris is number 1. Number 2 is Sope Dirisu. Who else?
I like the dude that you have here, the dude from the sci-fi show. What's his face?
Raised by Wolves.
Raised by Wolves. That dude.
When I saw, listen, Sope Dirisu was my number 2. Can you pull that up on your screen so they can see? Sope Dirisu was my number 2 for a very long time, until somebody made me aware of the series Raised by Wolves. If you've not seen Raised by Wolves, it is an extremely good sci-fi, futuristic, dystopian series. There's a brother in there by the name of Abubakar Salim. Okay, that's Sope Dirisu. This dude is allegedly 30 years old. I don't know how old he's supposed to be in this movie, in these images, but dude is allegedly 31.
I mean, this picture right here makes him look all of 40.
Dude, he's 57 years old in that picture. Okay? There's no way he wasn't born when Kennedy was in the White House. I refuse to believe that. Okay? But because
see, look at this picture on the left. He looks young as hell right here.
Right. Okay, yeah, that was in 1978. But yeah, Sope Dirisu, based on his work in Gangs of London, was my number 2 until I saw Raised by Wolves. And my number 2 now is Abubakar Salim. The picture that I sent you, can you pull that
I can't pull my text into this live.
Can you like email it to yourself or something?
Ah, Jesus. What is the guy's name? So I'll just search for
Abubakar, Abubakar.
I got it. His name is so unique. You just need to type the first 4 letters.
Right, and it comes up. Oh, I know what I can do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click that 4th picture. Yeah. That's him in the series. His acting is top notch. He's another Brit. I think he comes from an African family, and he's a pretty good
I wouldn't
actor.
use this picture though, because he looks kind of suspect like that. I think this is a stronger picture.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do it this way. Hold on.
Now, what's real interesting is this picture right here.
Right.
Or this one.
He reminds me.
Notice he's wearing the same outfit that
Right.
Chadwick Boseman
Right.
wore at the end of Black Panther.
Right. Okay, I just check your DMs. I just sent you that picture on Twitter. And you can probably bring it up that way. But he's my number 2. And he's one of the things that, for me, the person needs to have if and when they ever decide to recast T'Challa, and I hope they do. There are several factors that they need to do. Number 1, the brother needs to be. Yeah, he does. Number 1, that the actor needs to be of a darker complexion. Number 2, I would prefer that he be tall, 6 foot or taller. Number 3, and most importantly, he can act. Abubakar can act. If you want, okay, this is my list. These are my top 5 individuals who I would like to see play T'Challa next. Number 1 is Damson Idris from Snowfall. Number 2 is Abubakar Salim from Raised by Wolves. Number 3 is Sope Dirisu from Gangs of London.
I bet.
Number 4, I can't remember the brother's name, but he was in the most recent series of The Umbrella Academy. He was also in Jingle Jangle. I just can't remember his name right now. And number 5 is Stephen James, who was in Chadwick Boseman's movie 21 Bridges. Stephen James can act. He played Jesse Owens in the movie Race. He has that series, what's it called, Homeland or Homefront or something like that, on Amazon Prime. Stephen can act, and all of these brothers are under the age of 35, and so they meet my criteria. But I think I'm gonna have to add that other dude who we just saw, who was also in Gangs of London. So he'll be my number 6. Yeah. So Damson is your number 1. Sope is your number 2. Who's your number 3?
Who, me?
Yeah. Who's your number 3?
I said the Raised by Wolves guy.
Oh, okay. So he's your number 3. So you would flip 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have 2 more? Or no?
No.
Okay. Another thing for me when I fan cast, I don't want somebody who's already played a superhero character, right? There's enough actors out there that you don't have to keep recycling the same people. A couple of the names that I see is Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I've also seen who else? Trevante Rhodes. And let's just be frank. Trevante Rhodes is not a good actor. I believe he's doing well as Mike Tyson, but other than that, I've seen his entire body of work. Nothing about what he's done has given me confidence that he would be able to pull off the gravitas that is required from T'Challa, nor be able to pull off the African accent the way that Chadwick Boseman did. So he's out. John David Washington, another name that always comes up. A, he's too short. Dude is about 5'9", 5'10". B, he's not a great actor. I know he comes from good stock, but as an actor, as an individual, he's not a good actor. If you've seen the movie Tenet, he's blown off the screen by Robert Pattinson, who is an ancillary character. John David people point to Black Klansman. Black Klansman was a phenomenal movie, besides John David, not because of. Who's another name that's always mentioned? Those are 2 or 3 that are commonly mentioned: Trevante, Yahya, and John. Boy from Insecure, Gillan Noel.
He actually would be my number 4.
My only issue with him is he's too short. He's about 5'9", 5'10".
Oh, is it? Well, I mean, look, they can always make people look taller.
Listen, I get
Tom
that.
Cruise built an entire career based on that.
Who? Where?
I said Tom Cruise built an entire career looking like he's 5'10".
Right. First off, Tom Cruise does his own stunts. He's the best action star ever. Okay. And none of his roles, other than the Jack Reacher role, has required him to be physically bigger than everybody else. T'Challa is eye to eye with Steve Rogers, right? So even though Steve Rogers is now old or whatever, I just don't want, 5'9", 5'10" dude. Well, a 5'9" dude. That's one of my big issues with John Boyega. John Boyega is a phenomenal actor. I just think he's too short for this role.
So Bakari mentions that Spawn Jamie Foxx may finally happen. Now, did you hear about this? That Todd McFarlane made an announcement that Spawn may actually now finally go forward, and Jamie Foxx is going to be in a lead role.
I don't want that at all.
Now this is something they've been talking about for at least
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
No, I was going to say more like 10 years. So they've been talking about Spawn coming back for a long time.
But with Jamie Foxx attached, I've only been hearing that about 3 or 4 years at this point.
Hey, if Jamie Foxx, that's it. I mean, more power to him. I like
Jamie Foxx, but because he's been Electro, I don't need to see him as another superhero character.
Oh, that's just silly. He's not even a superhero as Electro. He's a villain.
Well, I mean, yes, he's not a superhero, but he has been in a comic book role. I don't need to see the same people in different comic book roles. Oh, Aldous Hodge is another individual whose name keeps getting mentioned. But because he's now Hawkman, I don't need to see him as Hawkman and Black Panther.
And that's a shame, because Aldous Hodge would have been excellent T'Challa. He's got that intensity.
He's got the intensity. The only question that I have is, could he pull off the African accent? That's the only question I have.
He can get an acting coach. He'd be good.
Have you been watching him in City on the Hill?
No.
You've got to watch. Listen, if you're watching this show and you like good story and you like good acting,
I haven't even heard of that. City on the Hill? What is that?
City on a Hill. Basically, it's set in 1990s Boston, where Aldous Hodge plays the first Black ADA, Assistant District Attorney, in the Boston DA's office. And he's tasked with, obviously prosecuting cases. As an individual who was the first Black male Assistant District Attorney in my office, I relate to his character. It's a very, very good series. The main star is Kevin Bacon, who is an FBI agent.
I think I was the
It's
fourth
a Star series or Showtime?
I was the fifth Black prosecutor in my office.
Okay. I was the second overall Black prosecutor, the first Black male prosecutor in my office when I was a prosecutor. And so I have a somewhat of affinity for the struggles that he's going through as that in that role. It's a very, very, very good show. If you have not seen City on a Hill, I would highly encourage you to find it. It's either Showtime or Stars. I'm pretty sure it's Showtime. It just finished its third season. Very, very good show. Very good show.
All right. Well, look, everybody, we've been here for almost 2 hours now. Wanted to say thank you all for listening to us. Again, please like and subscribe to our channel. Like the video that you're watching now. Subscribe to our channel. It helps our algorithm. It helps us keep doing what we're doing. We're trying to expand. As you can see, if you've been watching us for any period of time, we've really been amping up the production value of what we do here at Black Comic Lords. And we've got some interesting things coming up fairly nice, fairly shortly. Stuff that we're looking forward to sharing with y'all. But simply liking these videos and subscribing to the channel helps us to do what we're doing. So really appreciate that. And please go to blackcomiclords.net. Buy yourself some merch. The shirt's available. It's the newest shirt on the site, along with some other stuff. Purchase something. It helps us to pay for all this stuff. We don't get anything money in our pockets for it. It simply just helps us pay for all this stuff that you see. So, Mark, thank you again.
We may be back next week. There's a guy who has a Kickstarter. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a comic creator. So hopefully next week we'll be back with him. I met him through Twitter.
How you just inviting random people into the house, man? You didn't even tell me about it.
Paul has a habit of doing this because he's well aware of the fact that I've mentioned this situation to him. So take that with a grain of salt. He knows very well who I'm talking about. I just can't remember the dude's name right now. But hopefully we'll be back next week specifically to talk comic books, specifically in Wakanda and T'Challa.
All right. Well, hopefully we see y'all next week.
All right. Peace.
Dude.